that I don't use. And I started asking my friends at first, can I just do your hair? And I started doing, so I'd braid one person, and they'd go around the school and people would ask, who did your hair? And they'd say, Jerry did it. So at first I did it for free or for a meal. So then after doing a few people's heads, then I really went round, and I had people queuing at my hostel for them to get their hair done. And it sort of, I missed a few classes doing hair. But it really did get me out of that financial situation that I was on, and the option to drop out of college was no longer on the table. And at the moment, I still do my daughter's hair. She doesn't go to the salon. I still do my own hair. And so for me, something that started off as childhood play or something that I could develop as a child became something that rescued me at a time when I sort of really needed it. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. It even affirms the fact that we're creative. Yes? We can make something out of nothing. And that's part of who we are as beautiful, powerful women. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. And who's going next?
No, I'm sorry, I'm still trying to process something. I'm going here.
Hi, I'm Audrey Liz Ochieng. From the Rusinga Island, that is in Homa Bay County, the firstborn in a family of 3. I work with children and youth, so I'm basically a child and youth development worker. I'm currently working for a compassion assisted project in Rusinga Island. I started this journey when I was quite young. I knew what I wanted to do from a very young age, but I went through different kind of socialization, and it's almost like I lived in 2 different worlds as a child. In one world, I was affirmed, I was given the love that I needed, the room to be a child and to grow, and I was inspired to be great. I was taught how to be great at a very young age, that is primary 5 downwards. Then from there, things changed a bit, where I now moved to a situation where all that image and greatness that was being formed in me was just crushed, and adolescent was setting in, and you begin to have issues with your skin, how you look, you're not sure what to do, how to do things, and you just need someone to affirm you. But I did not get that. So at that stage, I was very lonely, and the adolescents are the most mistaken people. But I still kind of held on to what had been nurtured in me when I was young. I used to do public speaking, and I found myself doing much of that and counseling, but deep within I was very lonely. I could motivate someone, but within myself I was like crashing. So I went through that until I finished primary school. I buried myself in books, so I got an opportunity to go to a boarding school, where again I continued pursuing my talent thanks to my teachers, who identified what I had in me, the good writing skills, the speaking skills, and through that I got to attend multiple of conferences, leadership conferences. But again, still within, the world can affirm you, but if you do not affirm yourself, if you do not love yourself, if you've not accepted yourself, it will still be difficult when it's just you and yourself. You are not enjoying your company. So I was in that kind of life where I was 2 people. At home, I was this calm, quiet, composed girl. In school, I was this outgoing, vibrant lady, and I lived like that for those 4 years again. And after school, of course, we stayed 2 years at home. I stayed 2 years at home waiting to join campus, where I again now started pursuing the vibrant side of me. And I met e-mentoring Africa, and through a leadership program, like I said, the speaking would land me in leadership sports and conferences. So I underwent again the leadership training, and I did some volunteer opportunities. Fast forward to finishing campus, again I am stuck. I have to go back to being this calm, composed girl that people do at home. So I was living two different lives. But then I got to this point where I knew I could not do it anymore. And if I was going to achieve my dreams, if I was going to live my dreams, I had to get out of that cocoon. And so I was fighting within myself. Do I go and stay at home? Do I move out? Remember, I don't have a job. I've just finished campus, not even graduated, but I knew if I was going to do what I wanted to do, I had to do something. There was a lot of fears. I was not sure of the next step, but I decided to take the leap anyway. Like I said, I was a good writer, so I used to do online writing, and I also wrote articles for blogs, and I would be paid for that. So I lied that I got a job just to move out of the house and go to a different place. I went to stay with a friend, a lady friend, with whom we were within campus, so that I could just get the room to be me and explore what I wanted. So I took that big leap. Like, my parents knew I got a job in Kasarani when I was actually going to sit in the house and do writing. Yeah, so it was a bit difficult. I had to act like I had a job. I could not borrow money. I could not do what, but at least I was doing what I loved. And through that, multiple opportunities opened up. I loved writing, but I also still had this passion to work with children and youth. And so I started going after volunteer opportunities. And through those volunteer opportunities, I started with e-mentoring Africa. They took me in through a training, then a job. They offered me an opportunity to gain some work experience as an acting programs officer. I was there for 9 months, and I now moved to my current job where I am. So sometimes when you're not sure what you do, just take the leap, trust your struggle, and do what you have to do. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I think that's everything's been said. You laid it out for us and for people all over the world, and that's great. Thank you. All right.
Protocol? Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Sophie Adiambo. I'm from the lakeside of the country. So I'm really grateful for this wonderful opportunity to really maybe express myself and to give you just a very brief background of what I've encountered as a woman and as a mother and a wife, and a sister, and, an auntie and so on. Yes, so this one maybe story I'd like to share with the audience. It's about who was adopted by my auntie, sister to my mother, at the tender age of 2 years old. So I never even got a chance to live with my own parents, but I got a chance to live with my auntie who was barren but married. She was a career woman, so I grew up in that, being an only child in a home. So fast forward, I think at some point I became a very I'm a loner, should I say so. Really never so comfortable in company unless when I want to. So it has also affected me in a way, I'm not so social as people may think. Sometimes even at workplace, maybe people think she's a very free and but that's sometimes not me. sometimes I really want to just be alone and just think of my stuff. When I grew up, when I was in primary school, my auntie was quite like a perfectionist. She was very, the typical African a woman who wouldn't even want a fly or just even a spot. So she was very perfect. And so I grew up knowing that, like if you make like the seats, the seat where you're sitting should not even, you have to take it back to how it was. So I grew up knowing how to just to be neat and to just put everything in place, like that perfect, like, like sometimes I wish I would scatter all these things and just, because that's how I am sometimes. I think that's the real me, like I don't like sometimes things so perfect. So at some point it affected me a lot, but then when I grew up and became a mother, I realized it was also affecting my family. Like I'm always like, this has to be done, and it has the timings, and So a friend of mine came to me one day and told me, "But don't you think you're being too perfect for life, too serious? Life is not that serious." I mean, she came to my house and then like, when there's a spill, like I have to go mop, when there's, like I have to put everything in place. And then I told her, me, that's how I am. So I realized it was affecting my family, it was not making me happy as well. And then she just one day told me, "But you're so good in like interior design, decor, for homes, you're like a homemaker, you're like, you can put everything well. Why don't you put this into, to use? Like, why can't you utilize that talent?" Then I was like, "No, I don't think so." Fast forward, I thought about it, and at some point, I opened a Facebook page called Happy Living Decor. Decor.
Right.
Yes, where focused on, because I love rustic. I'm not contemporary. I like the rustic kind of decor. So that is where I am right now. That is what I'm doing. I'm putting up my stuff of the old rustic farmhouse decor kind of. Yes, and that's my passion. And then I realized I would have wasted all this talent. Yes, and then it makes me like so happy inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, my story will go on the whole day, but
Yeah.
I've been warned. Time is up.
So,
Thank you.
You see the value of your auntie's, what you call perfectionism,
Yes,
and it supported you in being where you are today.
exactly.
And when you weren't sure what to do about all that you call yourself at the time, it actually grew and bloomed into something that I know we're all happy
Exactly.
that you do.
Exactly.
And I know it's beautiful and perfect.
Yes, yeah, like I hate that, when I get too perfect, I really have to go back and question myself, like, no, this is not me.
Just
I want
let
to
me-
just everything
Yeah.
happen, yeah.
Go with the flow. they
Yes,
say.
exactly.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for sharing
thank you.
that. That's beautiful. Yay.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Olivia Atieno. I come from Kenya, also the southern parts of Kenya. And I'm going to share my story based on work environment and especially issues affecting women at work. Yeah, so my story is based on a time when I worked for an organization that was responding to community needs, and we had these good projects from some of the good donors that are in Kenya and even outside Kenya. And then at one time, I want to believe that I gave this work my very best. So my work started with working in the field and riding a motorcycle, going to meet communities in groups and training. So someone noticed this, and a time came that
there was promotion at work, and the director made a sole decision to promote people upwards, you know. And so the person who was the project coordinator then, my project coordinator, moved to a programs job, and I was identified right away from field to come to project coordination, and someone else who was not working came to my position as the field officer. So everyone was promoted upwards during that time. And I said this was the director's sole decision to do this. And these other people who were promoted were men. I was the only woman who was promoted. And I think at some point it escaped people's mind that everyone got promotion the same way. So in my role as project manager, I met challenges, and especially because I was leading men who sometimes would have all the time in the evening to meet and tell stories, while me I walk home to go and do my work as a woman and even prepare for the following day, you know. And during these times when men were meeting, they would tell stories, they would discuss the project coordinator. I mean, people would just discuss things, you know, given that I was the only one woman in between here, you know. So sometimes I felt frustrated. And I asked myself, honestly, what should I do in this place? I told myself, I know I am doing this work very well, because in between there was a board meeting as well. And during the board meeting, when I presented the project progress, the board members came up and said that this is better than last time. So I was really motivated. I gave out very good reports of this project that I was heading, but the only challenge was how to interact with these other team members who were mostly men, and especially because they wanted to undermine my work and show that I am not doing much, you know. So one time I thought about it, and one of them, like whoever was my boss then again a man who was also promoted, would tell me. So every time people are walking out to go and enjoy lunch, I would go with him. But on our way to lunch and even during lunch, you know, all he would tell me were things that were meant to reduce my energy at work, you know. He would tell me things that honestly put me down and really demotivated me in this work, you know. He would tell me stories like, you know, those guys were discussing you. You know, this project, you're not making it. And you know, this was just based on people. The real work was really to the spot. I mean, to the mark. Then one time I thought about it and asked myself, so what do I do? So I used the same lunch forums that he used to do what? To really make me feel low. And I told him, I thought about it and just looked at the hierarchy, and then I told him that, oh, I think this is getting too much, and I am only worried about this small team of 5 people and this small project. I am sure you, as the programs manager, my boss, you're worried about so many projects that you are heading. And then the director is worried about even the sustainability of this organization. So my worries are not so much. And this was the day I just proved to this guy that I was a strong woman. Okay. And moving forward, they respected me, they respected my work, and that was the last time I ever had sad stories that were meant to really ease my spirit. So that's my story.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. You figured out what to do, huh?
Yes.
And that's going to serve so many of us, just knowing that story.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yay!
I can wait, she's not ready.
I am Ebi Nakitari. I live in Nairobi, but originally from Kakamega. I come from a family of 14. and I am the second last born. So during my childhood, my father had already retired. I didn't know that. I grew up knowing my father has a job, because we lived in the villages before I moved somewhere else in P4. My father would wake up, go to the shop, come back. So I knew, apart from the shops, he had another job. My siblings didn't tell me my father had already retired. So he's that old. So I studied in the village till P5, then went to another place to continue my education. I went on, did my Form 4. In high school, I was performing very well in Form 1, Form 2, Form 3. When it came to Form 4, I just switched off totally. My grades were going down each term. I didn't know what to do. When I did my 4th form, the results were out. I didn't get what I was expecting. I failed, seriously. When I was told to go back to school, I didn't want to go back to school to redo the Form 4 class. So I just stayed home. I told my dad, now what do we do? He was like, I don't know. Just stay, you can stay here with me. No, he doesn't like me going away. So he said, you stay here with me, I'll provide everything for you. Remember, I've just finished Form 4. So my siblings came up with an idea. I had to go do my A level in Uganda. You know, when you're in Kenya, when you feel you failed, you go to Uganda. It's true. Because I don't want to repeat. So I was a prefect, so I don't want the other students to see me back like I failed. So I went for A level, Form 5, Form 6. I did so well. I got an opportunity to go to the university there, Makerere University, but my family wanted me back in Kenya. So I came back to Kenya and we got another college called Mount Kenya University. I joined. And since I was little, I always wanted to count money. When we go to the bank with my siblings, I tell them, I want to be like that girl there counting money. I didn't know it was a teller. So even when I joined campus, I didn't know what to study. So I have a big brother who has done accounting. He works at KRA. So I said, my brother counts money. They were like, no, he works at KRA. But he did accounting. So in that process, I got to know what to do. I studied accounting, finished, graduated. Then I had my internship at Tata Chemicals. Now here is where problems came in. When I had an internship of 6 months. During the internship, they can either retain you or you finish and you go. They wanted to retain me, but they were conditions. There was not the real boss, the boss, some boss in that department was really disturbing me. He's like, can I buy you lunch? He wants my contact every day, so I get pissed off. He was a father of I think 3. He's like, I want to marry you. And I want a job, I don't want to be jobless. My sister is asking me, why are they not retaining you? I'm like, no, my time is up. I didn't tell her what was going on. So I just left. I told her I can do another thing apart from work. So she gave me a loan of 10,000. I started buying bags and selling bags. So that's how I came through a friend I knew in Mentoring Africa, and they have held my hand till today.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. One more, yes? Oh, you thought I forgot. That was fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Fun.
Yeah, because.
But you gotta go, right?
No,
Okay.
It's okay,
Go ahead.
fast.
Thank you.
So my name is Kathy Moai. I have a few things to talk about, and the first thing I want to talk about, it's a result of yesterday's session at the conference here. We were having a chat at one of the breaks, and someone said something totally innocent, but it reminded me of something that someone had said some time back, and it hurt back then. I didn't let it hurt me this time around, but it lingered through the day, like, why would the person mention such a comment? So on my way home, I remember speaking with my higher soul and asking, why is this situation seeming to hurt me the way it is? How is it that it brought back the memories of what someone had said some time back? And actually, when I was seated in the vehicle, thank God for the traffic, and I was able to reflect, and the solution that came to my mind was that it is a story that I'm telling myself, that I have been telling myself since that other time when someone had said something that hurt me. And so the idea is to drop the story. I know I have lots of stories that many times that we carry from childhood, and I know that I have perpetuated this, and I suppose that's why it hurt me back then. That's why it nearly hurt me now. But I thank God that I was able to figure out what the solution to that was. Yeah, and actually to ask myself, within that thing that this person said that potentially could hurt me, what came out of it? A lot of good came out of it for me. So I realized that the most important thing is to remember that no matter what, even if you feel shy about it, a lot of good came out of it. So that for me was big. And another thing also coming from yesterday's conference was, I have had lots of success in my life, thank God for that, but I have also taken lots of hits in the recent past. I have taken a lot of hits in the recent past. And I forgot that I had been successful, and other than forgetting that I had been successful, I thought I wasn't capable of success anymore. And so I put myself in this situation where I'm good for nothing. I mean, it's so like nothing good can come from me, like I can't do anything. And so I don't even know what triggered that memory that, that Kathy, you have had success in the past. Dig into it. So I am very grateful for that, whatever the situation that triggered that, because then on my way home I was feeling, yes, I am going to do this. And it's interesting actually, because I have received calls, I have made contact. Interesting this morning, calls. I made contact yesterday that I think are going to actually help propel me to this success that I'm looking towards. So I'm very happy for that. Something that I'd like to say as though to encourage people, because I suppose that's why for powerful women, for us to remember our power, is that I know I have, especially for me, I have dealt with death in my family. I mean, that I have lost my parents. I 5 years ago lost my baby, but I have come out quite strengthened in all of this, because on the one hand, in the human sense, death is final, but in the spiritual sense, it is not final. And especially when you think that someone was unwell, then they passed on, rejoice because they're not in pain anymore. Don't let it bring you down, because I know recently a friend of mine was telling me, we went to visit a friend who's in depression because she lost her mother. Why was she in depression? Why is it because of the death of the mother, or is it that there are things she wished she could have told her mother that she didn't tell her? And so, as I finish, let us love as though there is no other way in which we can love. After all, that's what the scriptures teach us, that the greatest commandment is love. And I suppose we have to fight. How is it? We have to work very hard to love, because whatever the question, as I like to say, whatever the question, love is always the answer. And let us also learn to forgive ourselves in times when we do not, in times when we have made mistakes. Let us forgive ourselves, and let that not be a reason why, therefore, after someone passes, we are very sad, and because life has to move on.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness, what a thrill. I appreciate you so much. And that, I mean, I think everything has been said here today, right? Yes, and welcome. And I would be remiss if I did not thank people that assisted me. Reverend Connie Phelps at Centers for Spiritual Living Kenya, so look her up there. And Rosalia for keeping us on time, because that's very important sometimes. But what to do when you don't know what to do, we know what to do. Take our time and dig into that spirit, that strength, and that courage that we have within us, and we will make it. And don't forget to get the book when you get a chance. It's on Amazon. It's a quick read, and I've had people tell me they keep it by their bedside. I even read it again about 2 months ago. I needed to read it again myself. So anyway, thank you all so much. It's been my honor and my pleasure right here in Nairobi, Kenya, to be with you. Love this place.